My name is Chris Wysote, Chriswysote. I work in a school. I've been in a school for 20 years as a social worker. I just recently graduated and I started working as more as an indigenous social worker. I do culture in the morning with the kids. We do smudging and storytelling, and so they get teaching every morning whenever they come to my. It's a beautiful place. It has a fireplace there. It's shaped like a teepee at the school. So and there's a fire. I light a fire. They come in. They smudge. They usually do their own smudging. So I let them learn about the smudging. And then I give them a brief teaching, about 5-10 minute teaching. Then they leave and another class comes in. The children, it has to be the children, because when I teach the children, I'm teaching them about our culture, reconnecting with our traditional values and beliefs, whether it's dancing, whether it's part of the language, whether it's just learning things that they need to learn. Because in our generation, all our teachings are there, but we need to pass them on, because if we don't pass them on, then we're going to lose it. A lot of our elders pass away. Wherever they pass away, they take their teachings with them. But nowadays, we need to pass those on, because a long time ago, somebody passed them on to me. I've been doing this for 31 years, and I used to go to sacred fires and listen to the elders speak. And whenever the elders would speak, I would listen. I always listen. And I'd learned things throughout the years, and I say I have to do the same for the children, to pass that on to them, so that they can pass it on to the next generation. With my well-being, I grew up in a city outside of Boston. So growing up in a city, it's tough. Like you just gotta survive on the streets and do what you can to get by. It turned to alcohol, turned to drugs. Throughout the years when I was using, I didn't care about anything. I just never cared about myself at all. And then I woke up one day and I had enough, and then I started turning to my culture. And when I turned to my culture, I remember going to a powwow and dancing at a powwow, and it was in Red Bank, Metabenagyak. And when I was there, I was there drumming with a drum group from the Native Friendship Center. And then after that, I went out and I started dancing. I just walked around, started dancing. I had a beaded bracelet when I first started dancing. I was so proud of that bracelet because I made it myself. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna rock it, I'm powwow now, So then somebody gave me an eagle feather, and that just lifted my spirits right up. So I started dancing with that one feather and the beaded bracelet. I'm dancing around. My friend comes up to me, and he's in full regalia. And he says, here, hold this for me. He hands me an eagle staff. And I held it, and I just felt that connection with that eagle. That spirit connected with me, and something took over my body, and I started dancing even harder and harder. And my friend's name was Percy Sakobi, so from St. Mary's. So I was dancing with him, and then went around a couple of times, and then he came back. He goes, can I have my eagle staff back? And I'm like, no, I love the way this thing makes me feel. It makes me feel alive, and I felt that connection, the spiritual connection with that eagle. Then I went around again. He goes, no, really, can I have it back? And I'm like, really? So I gave it back to him, and I said, how can I get one of those? I need to get one of those. And he goes, all you gotta do is commit to dancing. He goes, you commit to dancing, everything will come to you. So that year I committed to dancing, and then everything came to me, and I've been dancing at powwows for 31 years now. So as you can see, I'm getting ready to go dance at my powwow soon. I teach them. I saw one yesterday at the powwow, and he didn't even know I was a dancer. He came up and he had like a ribbon shirt on and a little regalia, like a grass dancer. He came up to me and looked at me and goes, wow, and I had my outfit on. And he says, you made all that? And I said, yeah, I did. I said, I have help from some of my friends. My bustle was made 31 years ago, and my good friend Derek Barnaby made it with me. So we put it together back then, and I still have it today. I showed you guys it inside. So, I always feel that passing on that culture that we have of dance is very important to the kids, because when I was young and I was growing up in the city, it wasn't there. The dance wasn't there. Nothing was there for me. My culture wasn't there. The language wasn't there. So I lost all that, you know. And then growing up in the city, and not knowing who you are, you tend to go towards other people that you have that interest in. You know, I had friends that were Greek, I had friends that were Puerto Rican, black, you know, and all that. And that's what I was drawn to, was their culture. And I never knew anything about mine. And then when I moved home here, I started learning more about it. You know, so, you know, and then 31 years later, I'm sitting here doing your interview. But it's important that we pass down what we know, because if we don't, then we're going to lose it. And it's important that those kids know their culture, they know their language, they know their identity, and they know where they come from. What it does for me is I live my life traditionally. You know, I've been doing my practice and my culture, everything for years. You know, 31 years. And throughout the years that I've been doing this, it's keeping me clean and sober. You know, I started out in AA because I had to quit the bottle and everything, quit the drugs. So I went to a detox, I went to rehab, and I ended up cleaning myself up so that I could have a future for myself and my family. So that now when I look at my children and I see them, it's like, yeah, this is why I'm doing this for. You know, I'm living a clean, sober life for them, because I don't want them to go down the same road that I have. I don't want them to see me like that again. So this keeps me going. I smudge every morning. I pray every day, you know, and I go and dance whenever I can to get out there. It gives me that connection with my spirit, because when I'm dancing, I connect with the drum. I connect with the people. I connect with everybody in that circle that's around me. And the energy is just unbelievable, because once you go into that circle, you hear that drum, your heartbeat connects with that drum, and it just gets your legs going. No matter if you're sitting there or not, you'll be sitting there going like this. Like people in the audience, if you watch them, they'll be going like this, or they'll be going like this. So when they start doing stuff like that, you're like, come on out, you want to dance? Your spirit's telling me that you want to dance, so get out here. And that's the same feeling that the kids get also. So when you see those kids out there and you want to teach them, even if they're not in regalia, you pull them into that circle. Say, come here, I want to teach you something. I want to show you. I said, if you can walk, you can dance. So as long as you can walk, you're dancing. You know, just put one foot in front of the other and you're going. Yeah, so it still has some work to go, you know, like, but if we continue to do the things that we're doing in the schools with the kids, that next generation will help the next generation to come, because we have a great sense of culture and language in our community, because we've grown so much in the last 10 years, but we still got a long ways to go, and we still need to work on things. This year at the school, I'm doing a program in the school. Every week we're going to do sewing. We're going to make shirts and ribbon skirts for the kids. So we're going to teach them how to sew and do ribbon shirts and skirts, so that every week on Tuesday, traditional Tuesday, we're going to have kids showcase who they are, their identity. Be open-minded. You know, be open-minded to where the teachings are coming from. They may not be all the teachings that you want to hear, and it may not be something that you could use, but be open-minded, learn the protocols, have respect for each other's culture, and you know, like I said, take what you need. You know, a lot of students throughout the universities, they go to university not knowing about the residential school survivors, not knowing about what happened in Indian Day School. My dad went to Indian Day School. I experienced stuff in Indian Day School also, so that it was there, you know, and it happened. So we look back on, you know, I want to say the wrongs of things that happened, but we need to move forward just to educate people so that we're not returning back to that same era again, so that we're healing ourselves and moving forward. I don't know, hope is just to have peace of mind, understanding, you know, of who we are, You know, we're Mi'kmaq people from this area, people of the Don. We're not other nations, you know. And when you go into other nations, not all Native people are the same. Not indigenous people are all the same. So you have to learn about their culture. You have to learn about their language. Learn about what they do. Maybe they do something different than I do. So that, you know, when we're moving forward, we're all moving forward together instead of moving forward like, oh, they do this wrong, they do that wrong. There's no wrong or right way of doing things. You know, we all have ceremonies. We respect our ceremonies. We offer tobacco, and we sit in on our ceremonies, you know, and everybody's welcome in our ceremonies. It's not just for our First Nations. We welcome everybody. You know, we honor all the 4 races in the sweat lodge when we have sweat lodges. So we honor those people that come and pray. You know, there are millions of people in this world that are sick. So we need to pray for them, whether it's you praying for them or me praying for them or somebody else. We're all in this together. So we need to always think about what we do as a unit together instead of individual. I think we need to look, help find yourself. You know, I also work in a detox and mental health. You know, mental health is a big issue in our country, and it's a silent killer. You know, so we need to look into helping people and making sure that their well-being is taken care of. You know, we live in a society where we know people, but do we really know what they're going through? You know, to help them, we need to be able to talk to them. You know, go up to them and talk to them, have that conversation with them. You know, don't just say hi and walk by, you know, and say, hey, how you doing, and keep on going, you know. It's like, you ask me a question, you're going to come back and I'm going to answer you that question. You know, so I think, you know, taking the time to speak to people, even our elders, you know, our elders share so much knowledge. Whenever we see our elders, we just hi, give them a hug, and keep on going. Same thing. They have so much teachings to offer, to give. Have a seat, have some tea, have some coffee with them, you know, sit down with them for a while. Even our own elders, like our grandmothers and grandfathers, we don't take that time to go there and visit them and sit down with them and learn more about our culture, because they have all the answers, that everything that they've done in the past, they can tell you about it. So you don't have to guess that, oh, I think my grandmother did this and did that, you know. There are things that my grandmother and my grandfather did that I can still remember today. And that's important for me to pass that down to my kids, you know, so that they can pass it down to theirs and the next generation. You know, share those stories. Those stories were given to us for a reason. It's because our ancestors kept us going with our stories. We gotta keep those stories going for them, for the next generation, and so on and so on, you know. I may not be here in 30, 40 years from now. Maybe I will, maybe I won't be, but when I'm not here, I'm hoping that my daughters and the kids that I teach at the school will pass that down to their children, and so on and so on.